Hey guys, here's a video on solving radical inequalities. Before we fully get into actually solving them, remember that if you have a less than sign, which is the top one right here, then you have an open circle since the value itself is excluded. Then if you have the less than or equal to sign, then it's a closed circle because it's included. Then you're going to shade to the inside. The next one that you could have is the greater than, which is the top one. It'll be an open circle since the value is excluded. And then greater than or equal to, which is the bottom one, will have a closed circle since the value is included. And for this one, we're going to shade to the outside, which you'll see later. Okay, so the steps to solving radical inequalities. The first thing that you need to do is isolate the radical, which is what we did earlier. Then you're going to square both sides, simplify and solve for x, and then check your answer to make sure it's a true statement. This one is extremely important when it comes to inequalities. Then you're going to set what's under the radical equal to 0 and solve for x. Then again, check that solution for a true statement. Then you're going to graph it on the number line. So our first example, we have the square root of 3x plus 6 is less than or equal to 3. So our first thing that we need to do is isolate the radical. But luckily it's already done for us. So now we can go ahead and square both sides. When you do that, you get 3x plus 6 is less than or equal to 9. Now we're going to solve for x. So I need to subtract 6. So 3x is less than or equal to 3. Then divide by 3. So the 3's cancel on both sides. So I get x is less than or equal to 1. Now let's plug that in to make sure it works. So we have the square root. I'll do it over here to the side. So square root of 3 times 1 plus 6. So that's equal to 3 plus 6 equal to the square root of 9, which is equal to 3, which is less than or equal to 3. So we're good. Okay, the next thing that you need to do is you need to take what's under your radical and set it greater than or equal to 0. Because we're not going back to the I squared, I cubed, all that fun stuff. We're not going back to it. So we're going to have 3x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So solving for x, I'm going to subtract 6. So 3x is greater than or equal to negative 6. Then divide by 3. So x, on the right to the side, is greater than or equal to negative 2. Now we need to plug that back in to check. So I have the square root of 3 times negative 2 plus 6. So that's equal to negative 6 plus 6, which is equal to the square root of 0, which is 0. And 0 is less than or equal to 3, so we are good. Alright, so this is where you're going to start drawing your number line. So the 2 points that I'm going to have on a number line are the 2 x values that I found. So I'm going to have negative 2, and I'm going to have 1. Since this one is equal to, both circles are closed. And since the original is less than, I'm going to shade in the middle. Okay, that is your answer solution. Alright, the next one, I got the square root of 3x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 3. So this one again, isolate the radical, which is already done for you. So then I can go ahead and square both sides. So you get 3x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 9. Now I'm going to solve for x. So subtract 6 from both sides. So 3x is greater than or equal to 3. Then divide by 3. So x is greater than or equal to 1. Now let's plug that in and double check. So the square root of 3 times 1 plus 6. So that's the square root of 3 plus 6, which equals the square root of 9, which equals 3. And that is greater than or equal to 3. So we're good. Okay, now let's check what's under the radical to make sure it's greater than or equal to 0. So 3x plus 6 greater than or equal to 0. Okay, you're not flipping the signs. Solving for x, I'm going to subtract 6. So 3x is greater than or equal to negative 6. Then divide it by 3. So x is greater than or equal to negative 2. Now you need to plug that back in to check. So I'm going to do that over here on the side. So the square root of 3 times negative 2 plus 6, and that's equal to the square root of negative 6 plus 6, which is equal to the square root of 0, which equals 0. And 0 is not greater than or equal to 3. That is not a true statement. Therefore, x is greater than or equal to 2 is not an answer for us. Now you just do your number line. So the only point now that I'm going to have is 1. It's equal to 1, so it's going to be a closed circle. And then it's greater than, so I'm going to go to the right. Okay, so that's for a greater than. So most of the time for a greater than, you don't need to solve for it being under the radical being greater than or equal to 0, but I would always just plug it in just to double check. Alright, next one that you could get. So 2 square root of x plus 3 plus 6 is greater than 18. So the first thing I need to do is isolate my radical. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. So I get 2 square root of x plus 3 is greater than 12. Then I'm going to divide by 2. Make sure you divide by 2 before you square it. So you get square root of x plus 3 is greater than 6. Now I'm going to square both sides. So x plus 3 is greater than 36. Solving for x, minus 3. So x is greater than 33. Now let's plug it back in to double check. So I have 2 times the square root of 33 plus 3 plus 6. So that's 2 times the square root of 36 plus 6. So that's 2 times 6 plus 6. So that's equal to 12 plus 6, which equals 18. Okay? But it has to be greater than 18. And as we know, 18 is not greater than 18. So that means it's going to be an open circle because 18 is not included. Alright, then let's go ahead and double check under our radical. So we have x plus 3 is greater than 0. So that means x has to be greater than negative 3. But we already know that x has to be greater than 18. So we're not going to graph this portion. So drawing my number line, right here is 18. It's going to be an open circle, and it has to be greater than, so it's going to go to the right. Okay, that is just basic graphing it off the number line, or given the equation, graph it. One thing that you need to remember is that is that say that you have an inequality sign, or say you end up getting a positive number is greater than or greater than or equal to a negative number, then your answer is going to be all solutions. Okay, because a positive number is always greater than a negative number. Alright, say you get a positive number is less than or equal to a negative number, then your answer is going to be no solution, because that is not a true statement. So make sure you are checking those statements. Okay, the last little bit that we got to go over. So say you're given the following table where y1 equals the square root of x plus 3 and y2 equals 4. And it's asking what inequality represents the circled values on the table. So no matter what, you're going to have square root of x plus 3 and 4 in your answer, no matter what. Now looking at my circled regions, 4 is included in my y1. So that means I'm going to have the equal to bar, no matter what. Then looking at all of the other y values going up where it's circled, they're all less than 4. So that means the square root of x plus 3 is less than or equal to 4. That would be the answer that you're looking for. Okay, you could also get a question that says, what is the solution to this table? So you would say that the solution is 13. You would circle 13 and say x equals 13. So that's another way that you could see this. Okay, I hope this helped. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in class. Have a great night.